Hey, they're on. See that? That is amazing. I just want to see what's happening here. Holy crap, look at that. It's doing something. This is pretty cool. This is exciting. I thought I wouldn't get much out of that. I wasn't sure. It was just a thought. I've shown my successes in these videos before, but I wanted to show all of my footage of me experimenting with different ideas. I did test this once, and I got a reading off of it. Some of them seemed kind of ridiculous because it was based off of maybe a simple image with no information, but I tried every idea I had. I haven't really figured out how to do this yet. I now better understand what is happening here. As the video goes, I'll post a picture or a graphic of what I was learning, because looking back I could see what I was trying to do. Well, there you have it. Here's a flashlight that's run on cement. I'm going to try to just present these videos as uncut as possible. Based off of these small successes, I know that there is incredible technology that we can have in our hands, that we ourselves can make in our own backyard. Alright, I'm going to set this up so you can see it. And basically just take a couple of these. Now this is quartz. It's not quartz crystal, but it's quartz. It just didn't crystallize into the normal formations that we see. This is quartz crystal within a geode. I got this from my granddad. He has a bunch of stuff. Went to him to get some quartz crystal. I found this at a rock shop, and these are quartz crystal with purple in it, and I forget what that is called right now, but this is that. So these are quartz that you could just find out in your front yard probably, and this is what I wanted to find. When I was in Arizona, I found this out there, but you could basically go out in your front yard or something and find stuff like this in River Rock or whatever it is. But you could just do your own little test, and then you'll be able to see exactly what it does. You can either scrape it like this. You can see the little charges in there that happen when you grind them together. And you could also knock them. It's not going to be easy to see that, but you could grind them together like that. So this is the technology in this. So basically it just knocks it, creates that electric charge, and then you get a spark at the end. So the technology works. So you could even test this on your own and just see, oh yeah, it does work. It is true. So this is not like this. This is flint and steel, but it's not the same thing. When you're seeing that light up, it's not a spark. It's an electrical discharge. And you could see some videos online to see why that happens. But basically the crystal, all the molecules in there, the structure in there already has a positive and negative charge on the molecules. But it's neutralized because it has a positive and negative charge. But when you disturb it and put stress on it, then it disturbs the molecules, and then it disturbs the neutralized molecules, and then it emits the charge that's already in it. So that's the basic idea of what that is. That's the concept, and this is something that they don't really teach everybody, but you could test it out for yourself. What I want to get into is how do you continue to extract electricity from it. We know that you could extract electricity from it by knocking on it once, and then it creates a spark. But I was thinking, what if you put mechanical stress on it, like a vise, and put stress on it, and would it create electrical charge? I was further thinking, if you can create electrical charge, and then loop that back around to make it vibrate and create more electrical charge, why couldn't you loop it and create more charge? So that'll be the further experiments that I'm going to do, and I'm only going to experiment on things that you could test out on your own. I'm not going to just create something that's hard to test on your own, because you could it's not easy to find videos that are actually truthful, because I know that they don't want information like this getting out, because what if you can figure this out on your own and start powering your own house, like the guy was saying in the video, and not have to rely on the grid at all. So there's a great deal of motivation to not get that information out there. But if you just do some deductive reasoning that this piezoelectric qualities in these crystals are actually true. So mechanical stress causes an electrical charge, and electrical charge causes mechanical stress. So that's the idea, and we'll get further into that. But with my collection here, I have Epsom salts. Some people use that in their batteries. I was going to get some Rochelle salts. I haven't gotten those yet, but some people use Epsom salts in a mixture. This is tourmaline. I didn't know what tourmaline was before, and that same rock shop that I got these quartz crystals, I just walked up to the store owner and I said, "Do you have any tourmaline?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we got plenty of it." So this basically looks like coal, but it has it's formed in a crystal-like way, and I think there's different colorations of it, but this is tourmaline, and so this is the next step down from Rochelle salts. This is brittle. I broke this piece off. It is pretty brittle, but it's probably tougher than the Rochelle salts. So I bought some of this. This wasn't too expensive. I think this is like $5. I mean, if you could find this out somewhere in the wild, then you know, that'd be good on you. But I just thought, well, I want to experiment, so it's worth $5 to get that chunk. This just rocks outside your house. You could start immediately with that and just experiment. I remember as a kid, I would throw these on the ground and it would light up, and I thought that was interesting. I didn't understand what was happening, but I always thought it was like the flint and steel thing, but it's actually causing that electrical charge to go off. I did get some iron pyrite, and I know that John Hutchison in those videos, he's used iron pyrite. He's crushed it down or whatever to put in his little mixture of Epsom salts or Rochelle salts, and I think he called it like doping it up. So I guess it intensifies it a little bit. But I got some of that just to experiment with that. Put some iron pyrite in there. So this is what I've got so far. I'm going to get bigger quartz crystals, probably from my granddad. He's going to be looking for them, and this is what I want the most. There's a bigger crystal right here inside this thing, but I want to at least get a piece that big, or a couple pieces that big, because then I'll be able to experiment more, but maybe bigger ones than these. But if you want to experiment on your own with this stuff, maybe get ahead of me, I don't know, but this is something that I'm going to start with, and this first experiment you could do on your own and just confirm that it's true, and then we can go from there. And so stay tuned for more videos about this as I progress along, as I find out more, and as I learn, I'll share it. And if you know more than I do about this, then I want this information out there circulating. And if I ever make anything successful, I'm just going to share it with everybody so you can make it on your own. I don't have enough time to like try to do everything on my own and try to sell it or whatever. I don't have time. We don't have time in this world right now, so we got to just find out this stuff, get up to speed as fast as possible with this science stuff, and get it common knowledge around us so we can just make it. I would love for us to have those microwave size 0-point energy creators, just like the guy was saying on the video, and so we don't have to rely on anything. And you know, whatever comes our way, whatever turbulent thing, if the economy crashes, if our power is shut off or whatever, we could be on top of it. We could have these inventions going and circulating around, so people won't have to go through all this, you know, horrible experiences, that even death, because we don't have power throughout the winter or something like that. So that's my motivation. I want people to benefit from this. So as I continue to learn more, I'll share it. So I was just experimenting with this, just a rock from outside. Basically, I just chose a flat one. It's a quartz. It's not a crystal quartz, but it's just quartz that I found just on the ground. And I wanted to document this just in case I was onto something, but basically my theory was to get a quartz under pressure, because that's put stress on it, to see if I can get more power out of it. And that's essentially what these lighters are doing with that technology inside. They have a quartz crystal inside there. It knocks on it, and then it creates a spark that lights the flame. So that technology that's working, I mean, the concept is that quartz crystal has the energy already inside it, and then when you put stress on it, it deneutralizes the molecules, so it releases the energy that's already inside it. And so what I wanted to do was get one of these crystals, and you know, you could test for yourself and knock on it, and then it'll create a light, or you could scrape it, and I showed that in another video. But I wanted to see if you could just put stress on it, like a pressure, to do the same thing, but it'll be a constant power rather than just a jolt of electricity. So the concept is, or the whatever term or whatever the idea or the law or whatever you want to call it, is that mechanical stress causes electricity. And if you apply electricity, it causes mechanical stress. So if that's the case all the time, then any kind of mechanical stress to this will cause electricity to emit from it. And so this is just the basic concept that I was thinking of. So I found a vise. This is for woodworking or metalworking. You could clamp some wood together, but I thought this was perfect because this is made out of aluminum, and I thought if I just put a copper piece on the other side, then I would have the capability of measuring any volts that would come off of this crystal. Essentially, it's doing the same thing as something like this, or these batteries that you see people make out of Epsom salts or Rochelle salts, and they put a little mixture of those salts in there with copper and magnesium rod, and then they put it in between. Basically, I'm doing the same thing here with the copper and aluminum. So this is just a way of putting the quartz in between it to measure it, to get the volts out of it. So anode and cathode, that's what I'm learning about that. So basically it's an anode and cathode, so I can test the positive and negative. So I could hook up the negative and positive with a multimeter and then see if there's any electricity coming out of there, if that makes any sense. I'm still learning as I go, so, but I just thought I wanted to test this, and so far I've been getting some positive results from this. So I wanted to document it further, just so I have it on tape rather than just doing it and then telling you. So far my theory has been working, but let me just show you what it's been doing. So I have it under pressure, and I've been kind of squishing it in, causing the mechanical stress. And so when I put the multimeter up there, I'll be able to see that. When I put the multimeter up there and I put the rods on there to measure it, so it says it pulls about 40.046 volts out of that. So it does register a little bit of voltage. So it charges up slightly and then slowly discharges 0.045, and then 0.044, and then it'll go down a little bit. I haven't really tested how much further it would go down the more I hold it there. So remember that 0.044, and so as I cause more mechanical stress, meaning I crank this down more, just a little bit, 0.061, 0.060, 0.058. So you already saw that it was 0.044. Now it's 0.054. And it's going a little bit slowly after that, a little slower after, going down a little slower as I keep it on there. So remember that 0.052 as it slowed down there. I'm going to crank it down again. Causing more mechanical stress. I know it charges up every time I take it off, but as it slows down here, it seems like it's more voltage. But one thing I wanted to do, I know this little pipe here is getting squeezed down, you can see that. I need to get it to a point where it's all the way down to the flat, so I could actually start putting more pressure than I had on there. Okay, I'm still really starting to crank that down, so I know that there's more pressure, and so we'll just see what the multimeter says on it. .068, 0.067, 66, 0.065. So it's now it's starting to slow down and level out again. So as it gets to the same plateau or levels out again, it's 0.064. So that's about 10 more units or whatever measurements than last time. So each time I cranked it down, and it's like 0.0. It's like it's about 10 well, you can see the difference. So each time it was like 10 more, 10 more, 10 more. So I'm going to crank this down even more, just as hard as I can, and I want to see where the measurement is. Okay, so that's about as hard as I can go. I know I could even crank it down even harder, I just need to get more leverage on it. We'll watch the multimeter and see how much it is now. .077, 76, 75. 4. So it did the same thing. I added more pressure and it increased it. So I think that's very interesting. Now it's 0.071, 72. It's plateauing there a little bit. So it looks like this test, so far it shows that that theory is true. So this is just the first test though. So I'm going to try more tests and see if I can replicate it with other things. With maybe a smaller actual quartz crystal. And I'm going to try to crank it down as much as I can without crushing it. But I just want to do more tests like this to see if this will actually do this. So it looks like it's confirming what I was thinking. So I'm going to do more tests. We're going to see where this goes. I might even make another battery, make 12 of them, so I can get a 12-volt battery, start charging up my other battery for fun. But I think this is pretty cool. This is exciting. I thought I wouldn't get much out of that. I wasn't sure. It was just a thought. But the mechanical stress theory, or the mechanical stress law or concept, is really what's making these crystals emit their electricity. At least that's what I think so far. So I'm going to do more tests, and I'm going to make sure this is correct. And I think the idea behind these other crystal batteries that people are making is that the crystals form up in there in the Epsom salts or the Rochelle salts. And it's not necessarily the chemical or whatever they're putting in there or mixture. It's just the crystals. The crystals that are formed in there hold that energy in there. And so it doesn't matter really what you use, as long as it's a quartz or whatever it is to put in there. That's the theory. Some these crystals might work better than others, but so I just want to use like a whole crystal like this, put it under pressure, and then see if I can make multiple little batteries like that and see how long it'll last and see what it'll do. It'll be really simple. So today I'm going to use a very rare mineral out there. It's called silica dioxide. Chances are you're never going to find this in your lifetime, but I found mine at the dollar store. This is otherwise known as glass, or you could find this, you might be able to find it on a beach where there's a lot of sand, but it's going to be very rare to find sand on a beach. So sand on a beach is silica dioxide, otherwise known as quartz, which is this stuff ground up into little tiny pellet things. So they make glass out of it. So these are the little decorative pellets you can get at the dollar store. I found a whole bag of them, a couple bucks, and so I'm going to experiment with these, see if I can get any voltage out of it. If I can get voltage out of this, which is made of the same stuff, then why wouldn't it, do the same, have the same result? Okay, so that's all that's in there. It's my copper piece with my aluminum vise thing. A little bit of leather insulation so the copper doesn't touch the aluminum. But I'm gonna just see how this does, see if it has any charge or voltage or whatever, and then I'm gonna crank it down a little bit, see if it increases the voltage. This is the same stuff as this. I mean, why wouldn't it work? Well, it says it's getting something, but I'm going to crank this down just so it has some pressure. It is a small little bead in there, so I don't know if that's going to make a big difference. We'll put another bead in there. But it went up a little bit in voltage. Okay. So I'm going to put maybe, I'll try to fit some more in there. I managed to get 3 in there. I know the surface area isn't that good on these, so that only the top of those beads are touching, but if it's more voltage than just the one, then that means all 3 of them are providing something. That's 0.028. 27. Okay, we're getting some. Is this not confirming it, or am I going nuts? Crank it down even more, see if there's more voltage. So that's about as tight as I can go without a lot of pain and suffering. So let's get this hooked up. 0.033. So I bet if I increase that surface area connection on top there, if these were like ground down or something so they're flat, and so it gets more surface area, plus I could put more pressure on it without worrying about crushing the thing. I have another vise that I could use that I was thinking about. I can crank it down a lot more, but I think I need to get these flatter so they're, I could probably just get a pane of glass or something and do the same thing, but I just want to get it flat so I could squeeze it down as much as possible without it busting, and then see what the results are with that. But that's pretty amazing. I'm hesitating and getting too excited just because I'm learning about it, but with every test that I do, it's reading voltage out of this stuff. So when I added more of these beads, it increased the voltage, and then when I crank it down and add pressure and stress to it, it increases the voltage. So all of these tests are confirming that these have potential energy in it, and a way to get it out is to add stress to it, and it could be just pretty much any quartz. Silica dioxide is what they call it. They make it sound so complicated, but it isn't. It's almost as if they would say, don't even try to use silica dioxide because it's so rare, you're never going to find it. But you figure out that it's just sand on a beach and they make glass out of it, same stuff. Anyway, so now what I'm thinking is I want to get a flashlight, not this one, but I want to get something similar, maybe bigger around, and where these things can slip into, and then put some copper and then aluminum on each side, and then I could get a whole stack of these. Just get a whole stack of them with copper and aluminum on each side, and just keep stacking them. So basically that puts it all in series, and then once I get it into the tube, I could somehow crank it down and put pressure on it so it squeezes them all together. And then I wonder how much voltage I could get, a longer tube, however long, and then see if it does it. Why wouldn't it? If it's creating voltage, and basically it'd replace the battery that would go in there just like that. So I can get a copper pipe. In fact, I can use this or something. Alright, well, there's my next test. We'll be doing that. Yeah, I got a better vise this time. Now I can get a little more pressure if I wanted. Let's set this up better. So this is what I did. I got some aluminum sheeting, and I cut a little piece off and put it on one side, and I put a copper penny on the other side, and I cleaned off the penny. And if you want a good penny to use, it has to be 1982 or earlier. After 1982, they started not using copper anymore. They just did a copper plate or something on top. But the real copper pennies are from 1982 and earlier. And then you can just clean them off, and they turn out really shiny like that. This is a 1979. But I'm sure you got pennies lying around. I just went and collected a bunch of them out of my car console, and then I'm gonna use a bunch of these in between. So I'm gonna basically multiply what I've got here in a series. I'm gonna use this pipe to do a bunch of them in a row, and then I'll cut this pipe, do a bunch of these in a row in series, and then I'm going to put this pipe in here And then I'm going to test the same stress thing. I'm going to squeeze it together just like I'm going to do right now. I just wanted to test if this is going to work and see if I get even a little bit. But I'm really going to crank this down so I can really get a lot of stress on it to see what it'll do. 0.004 volts. Really small reading. But this is where I'm going to start cranking it down and see if the reading goes up. Hopefully I can get it to a point where it'll be enough pressure but not shattering that. Oh, shattered. Okay. So much for that, but let's try it anyway. And shattered again. So I got more volts though. I more than doubled it. Just by pressuring it like that. It's even going up a little bit. So I more than doubled it. It looks like it's holding. So what I need to do is, these things are rounded and that's what's causing it to bust so easy like that. So I need to get, I know this side's flat, but I need to get it flatter, and then this side I definitely need to get it flat so it'll withstand a lot more pressure, and then I can squeeze some more volts out of it. But that's the plan. I'm going to see how it works and we'll go from there. I actually went ahead and I took a chance and cranked it down even more, and I took a reading on it, and it looks like it almost 50% up. It's going down a little bit. I could hear it start to crack. So I'll just show you what I did in this tube. I just used this tube so I can keep them all together. What I just did is basically just a bunch of these in a row in series. So since I got a volt out of this, I figured, well, if I put it all in series like batteries, just like batteries go, just like this in series, then that'll increase the voltage. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I just want to see what it does. I mean, logic says it would work, right? I mean, if it worked for the other thing. So if the test worked for one of them, it should work for many of them. So this will go to positive. Alright, it's positive. Let's get that to 0. So here it goes. 0. So they're probably not all connected very well. I didn't really squeeze that together that well. They probably need to be compressed just so they have good contact. This is just kind of a throw together type thing, so I don't know how to compress. I don't know how to compress it though. That's the only. I don't have awesome tools. Use this thing. This is a magnesium rod. I could probably just use this to just smash it together. Yeah, it's not going to work. Alright, just need some. Oh, I don't know. I felt like it's went down a little bit, so I know that it needed a compressing. Nada. Well, not successful. This is just a throw together test. I just needed to see what he would do. So I'll take them out of here so I can make sure they have good connection, and I'll just put them in a vise like this, just so I could know absolutely sure that they're together. In here I can't really see it. And this way is a little tricky to get it like this, but this is essentially what I was trying to do with the pipe. I was just trying to get them all in a row so that they were all together like that. It's just so tricky to get it in here. But I at least got 3 of them, and I'm so curious about it being in series to see if it'll increase voltage. So this will be a good little test. It's a little balancing act to keep it together, but I at least got them together, and I could apply a little more pressure, but let's just see what it does and then go from there. It's not really doing much. Maybe I'm just not doing this right. Maybe the pennies aren't working. So maybe it's just the pennies. I'll have to figure out the penny thing later. I'll just try one of them, see if we can get anything out of it. So let's just try one. So this has hardly any pressure on it right now. Okay, so it has some. It's a teensy tiny little bit, but it is reading something, so I'm just going to apply some pressure. Let's see how far I can go with this without cracking it. There you go. More voltage. So the penny is working. It's just putting them all in series like that doesn't work. Because one thing about the penny is that it's not flat. It's got all these imprints from the minting process. So I'm going to flatten this, and I used this before and that was flatter than this. Also, these glass beads are not flat as well, so that's a contributing factor for the surface area not getting all over as it could be. But the main point for this test is just to get a little reading out of it. So I'm going to crank this down again, and I'm going to try to do it with it hooked up, because if it cracks at all, if it stresses it, then it should jump up in voltage. I won't be able to do this. It's too hard to do it without this bolted down. I'll just... Okay. There we go, I increased it even more. So technically it's working. Let's go up to 20. So I'm just going to keep cranking it until it cracks. See how much voltage I could squeeze out of this thing. See how much above 20 I can get. I don't know if I can or not. Oh, cracked. So let's see how much voltage I get out of that. Yep. Hit above 20 at first and then is dancing around 16, 17. I'm just seeing if it's going to go down a little bit. Still holding there. But I got voltage out of it, so test is working. Test is working. Alright, put some more pressure on it. See if it'll go above 20. Yeah, there you go. Now it's at 23. Dance around 22, 23. Alright, so more pressure, the more you get out of it. And that's with these copper pennies and just with some aluminum that I found. You could use an aluminum can. This is just a little thicker. It probably doesn't really matter. But you could use an aluminum can. Sit around. Confirm it with these two tests, with the regular rock that you could find outside your house, or with these little glass beads. It's essentially the same thing, the silica dioxide, and basically glass, quartz glass. So I'm going to keep doing these experiments, and I'm not going to be really happy unless I could light up an LED just from this stuff here, from rocks or that. And I have more ideas that I'm going to keep doing, and I have some theories about concrete.